にちは。こんにちは。こんにちは。
Right, I forgot to turn the microphone on. Yay! The volume should be okay. There we go. Happy Monday. Happy Monday. So, what you missed me saying was, thank you for the resubscription, Lojo. You are awesome. Also, I said hello to John Studios and Brittany Minguez over on the YouTube side. Hello. And yeah, Nari Mom and I are doing okay. Nari Mom is... yes, hello, YouTubers. Nari Mom is still recovering from the cold that we got like last week or the week before last week. So I'm pretty much over it. I've still got the little cough and everything going on, and Nari Mom has still got like a bigger cough than what I have. Yeah, I was originally planning to do some .hack outbreak today, but I decided to move that to tomorrow just because I'm still not feeling well today. I'm like, heat has always... Okay, so yesterday I took Nari Mom to the doctor, as you can see right here with the doctor's visit, and it was a very hot trip. And it's like a 20-minute drive, and there was like heat, and we couldn't really run the AC because it makes the car run worse, and it uses more gas, and all of that stuff. So there was a large part of the trip where we were just like really hot. And I've never done well with heat, not even like when I was a kid. Because there were several times in like the 2nd and 3rd grade, I would just be like out on the playground for that little like hour where they let kids go out and play on all the metal objects that had been baking in the sun all day. If you're from the 90s, you are well aware of this. I don't think they do this as much today because the items are like lined with foam, or they're made of wood or plastic. Usually more wood than anything else. But yeah, yeah. When I was a kid, this was the slide at our playground. In fact, this looked very similar to the playground that was at my school. This thing, it's just made of like hammered sheet steel. It's not very heavy duty, and there's a couple of things about this slide that younger peoples won't understand about this slide. And that is that, one, you don't wear shorts when you're going down the slide. And I'll tell you why. Because this slide has been sitting in the sun all day. Because they usually let us out on the playground around 1 or 2 in the afternoon. Just long enough for all the metal to reach a temperature that can give you a 3rd degree burn. And anybody who understands why I said nobody ever went on this thing that was wearing shorts understands 2 things about this slide. 1, it's incredibly hot. 2, it's incredibly sticky. So if you tried to just slide down it and close, you're fine. But anybody who was trying to slide down this thing wearing shorts knows that immediately when your thighs touch about this area of the slide right here, you come to a screeching halt and start either tumbling down the slide, fall off the side of it onto the gravel below, or Just start burning, because now the underside of your legs are cooking on this hot metal that you are stuck to. Yeah. Nobody goes down these slides in shorts, because it always happens. Or there is a fourth option. You continue to slide down the slide, and your skin is like skipping down the slide, getting pinched underneath you. Yeah, if you do go down, it's all stuttery. Yeah, because your skin is getting like folded and pinched underneath you, and then you like skip forward and it happens again, and all the while you're being burned by the insanely hot metal. Yeah, so we had this. We had monkey bars that were made out of metal. '90s playground. Let's see. Here we go. Yeah, a lot of schools had these things, and it looks fun until you realize all of this is metal, and yeah, like you can climb it till you get up to here, when you're gonna have to start putting your knees and stuff on it, and then that's horrible. And then you have this thing, and people are like, oh, it's a merry-go-round. No. This is the wheel of death. Because these things were only used in one manner on the playground. Note that there are just these metal bars, and usually these metal bars aren't there in the middle. They're out here at the edge. Let's see if we can find one that's closer to here we go. This is more closer to what you actually find. And as you may have noticed, this is all metal. That's metal. These bars are metal. All of this is metal, which means it too is about 400 degrees when sitting out. And here's another example of it. Yeah. So these things were on like every playground, and what would happen is you would get on the metal incinerator wheel here, and the only thing that's keeping you on this wheel is you holding on to this insanely hot metal bar, which no one wanted to do because it was insanely hot. And then your friends would proceed to spin this thing as fast as they possibly could, until you go flying off of the side of it into the sand pit. If you're lucky, you go flying off and you land on the sand pit and you don't hit your head on the ground. If you're unlucky, you fall off right here, and then the next one of these bars that comes around tings your shin, and then you're having a nice little roll in the dirt over here because the merry-go-round just tried to break your leg off. If you're extremely unlucky, your foot gets caught up underneath this thing, and then it drags you around for a moment before it comes screeching to a halt, and you probably have a broken ankle or something after that. All of these things happened with this device all of the time. This was in no way a safe thing to have on the playground. But these were the toys that we grew up with. You can hear the squeak or the screech. Yeah, and just ask somebody who was a kid in the late 80s, early 90s about this equipment. You're gonna get the same thing. People say like, oh yeah, this is like equipment from the 90s. No. This is equipment from the 90s, right? And this is a sheer piece of metal there. It doesn't even have the uncomfortable like grippy pattern that pretended like, no, this one here is one solid sheet of metal. I mean, they at least have it raised up off the ground where you're not going to get caught underneath it and get your ankle torn to pieces. But yeah, these things here, danger wheels. Everything on the playground was designed to hurt you when we were a kid. Here's another one of those metal slides that you never ride when you're... Oh, what else we got here? Some schools had stuff like this. I do remember that meme now that you mentioned it. I do. Oh, anybody remember this thing? This square box of monkey bar torture? We had one of these things on the on one of my playgrounds of elementary school. Just a square. It's like this thing, but this was the fancy one. We had this metal box of torture. She did that to herself, though. I remember on these merry-go-rounds, we were inventing ways to make them spin faster. And one of the things that we came up with was we had these tetherball courts. Now tetherball is just it was a volleyball on a rope that's tied to the top of a pole, right? And so the idea is that you bonk the ball and it flies around the pole, and then somebody else bonks it and it goes back in the other direction. And I don't know if there's a point to it, but the ball just wraps around the pole and then it bounces back and starts unwrapping itself. It is a toy from a bygone age. But a lot of them were left over on playgrounds and stuff. One of the things that we did when I was in 3rd grade, I specifically remember this, we had 3 tetherball cords and we took them apart. We took the rope and the ball off of it, and we tied the rope onto one of these, and we had enough rope to go all the way around it like 1.5 times. So we tied the ropes end to end, and we tied it to one of these, and we wrapped it around. I don't remember it clearly enough. Like, I only have vague recollections of this meme. Oh, he posted it to the Discord. I shall have to go check it out. But yeah, we tied it to one of these bars and we wrapped it around. And then we had somebody standing in the middle, and what we were going to do were we were going to have some like 3 or 4 people with the end of the rope start running and pulling the rope to see if we could make it go faster than just running around it and trying to speed it up that way. And so we got the idea from like the lawnmower starter, right? So we were gonna do that with this, and it worked. It got it going pretty fast, but it also gave rope burns to all of the people that were holding the rope, because when the rope was fully extended, it started wrapping the rope back in the other direction, which we were kids. We didn't account for, physics. So we had it going pretty fast from the rope, and then it started winding the rope back, which jerked the rope violently from the hands of all the people that were running with it, so they all got rope burns on their hands. And the last kid didn't let go as quickly, and he got jerked backwards towards the thing. Meanwhile, it was going pretty quickly around, but not quickly enough to throw you off. So other people tried to step up and speed it up, but it was whipping a rope around it now. And so the rope was clipping anybody that got anywhere near it like a little whip. All we had managed to do was make it more dangerous. And oddly enough, more dangerous for everybody except the person that was on it. Playgrounds in the 90s. Yep, 80s and 90s, because I know we were not the only people to do this. There are stories. Anywho, that whole discussion was a sidetrack. Because I was saying that even when I was younger, when I was outside in the sunlight for like a half hour to an hour at a time, I would get like migraine headaches and nausea and all that stuff. Even in like the 2nd and 3rd grade, this was happening all the time. So yeah, cooking in the direct heat has always had an adverse effect on me ever since I was really young. So I was not feeling well at all yesterday because we didn't get back till like 6:30 or 7, because Narishm had an afternoon appointment and the doctor was like an hour and a half late even seeing her, and so everything ran late. We didn't get back here till like 6:30 or 7, and we were both like just done from the crazy heat that's happening. And then why can doctors be late but patients can't? I know, right? They should be paying me every time the doctor is late. Like for every 10 minutes the doctor is late, I should get 10% of the payment back. Like if doctor wants to be like an hour late, that's fine. I get the appointment for free. You can't be on time, why should I pay you? But they're not gonna do that because they're all greedy bastards, so. Anywho. But yeah. So we were done yesterday, and I don't think Lady was feeling all that great yesterday, and neither was Vin. I think they still did the Mecha Chameleon collaboration. But I know that there's another one coming up on Wednesday, which I think is also Vin's birthday. Yeah. So I'll probably join that one tomorrow, because today's Tuesday. So I'll probably be joining that one tomorrow. I sent a message out earlier. I haven't checked on it yet, though. Oh, but yeah. So yeah, I'm still not feeling all that great today, and my back hurts, and it's been kind of a shitty day overall anyway. I've just been fixing things that have been going like wrong all morning, like on the computer. That's why the stream started a half hour late. I was right up until 3 o'clock trying to fix things, and I still don't have everything fixed. I only have like 2 million things that I need to do. So yeah, I'm not feeling all that great, and I'm not in the best of moods, and I don't want to play games and be just in a bad mood playing game. Can you talk about Hail Mary, which you finally saw and was blown away? It's almost achingly sincere, but darn it, if we don't need that. Yes, I think Project Hail Mary is the best movie that I have seen in a long, long time. I knew that going in. I knew that it was by Andy Weir, and I'm a huge fan of The Martian. The Martian is one of my favorite films. But Project Hail Mary just, in my opinion, Hail Mary blows it out of the water. Yeah, I love everything that they did with Project Hail Mary. Like, yeah, I absolutely think it's the best. It's movie of the year, easy. And I know that there's still a bunch of great movies coming. Like the Odyssey came out, and the Odyssey is being hailed by everybody. Like, yeah, but I don't know if it tops Project Hail Mary. I'm gonna have to see it. I haven't seen it yet. But yeah, Project Hail Mary is just great. Amaze. Fantastic movie. And it fakes you out so many times. And I love the comedy in the movie, because you usually don't see space movies like that with that amount of comedy in it. Yeah. Yeah, like that reveal, like I kind of saw it coming a little bit, because I'm like, okay, there's no way that this guy's gonna volunteer for this mission. And then I'm like, okay, so spoilers for the Martian, for Project Hail Mary. When this reveal actually happened, I'm like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. But like that wasn't even like one of the biggest. This Project Hail Mary is a roller coaster. It does a roller coaster with your emotions, right? Because it starts out with him just on the Hail Mary and he's alone, and you start connecting with him that way, and then you start seeing the flashbacks about what's happening and the whole Petrova line, and I have some scientific like dings that I would give the movie in a couple of areas. But yeah, basically the sun's dying. These little alien microbes are like eating the sun and making it dim, which is going to lower the temperature across the solar system. And they found out that pretty much every star in our in the local part of our galaxy is affected by these microbes except for one. So the idea is we're going to build a ship, we're going to go out there, and we're going to find out why that star isn't affected by these things when the rest of the galaxy is. And so, and it's a long shot. They're using the actual infestation aliens as the fuel because they're an extremely powerful fuel source. But they only have enough to send people out there. They won't have enough to send them back, which is the first question I have, because they're everywhere, right? Why can't you just harvest them from the Petrova line? I mean, that should work, right? I understand on Earth they grew them in a laboratory, but there's no reason you can't just build a collector ship to fly out to the Petrova line and harvest the fuel that you need directly from there. Because this is a line that is spreading between the sun and Venus. There is plenty of open space right there where you're not going to be caught in a planet's gravity field. Maybe it would have taken so long. I don't think it would have taken longer than like growing them. I mean, and they got some in the first place. Well, the book also has a couple of other interesting scientific things. Because they did some things in the book that they didn't mention that they did in the movies, like putting solar panels in the desert and trying to break the Antarctic ice sheets to speed up global warming, which are two really, really interesting ideas. But they also mention that rocky species in the book doesn't have the capacity for what's it called when you can remember something after you look away from it? It's a particular word for it. Object permanence, that's it. There's a mention in the book that rocky species doesn't have any object permanence. And that is an interesting concept for someone who doesn't understand behavioral science in detail. But a species without object permanence would never be able to achieve spaceflight. They wouldn't. If you forget everything the moment you stop looking at it, you're never gonna be able to do anything. So that's a big question mark for me. Like how does species without object permanence create spaceflight? Another, yeah, they wouldn't survive long enough to be a technologically advanced society. Because it requires you to be able to remember things. Not only for like poisonous food, but just for building the most basic structures. That's one of the scientific questions I had about it. A second one is that rocky species can't see color, and they can't see like text and things on flat objects, so they can only see texture. So how did they notice the Petrova line in the first place? That's a question that I have. How did they notice it in the first place? Because it's not something you would be able to notice by texture. And that is illustrated in both the book and the movie when Grace goes out to collect from the Petrova line with their little collector. And he has that moment where he's in the line and he's seeing all of the like color, the pretty red sparkles and everything. And Rocky specifically mentions what Grace's doing. Like, he doesn't know. He can't see what Grace is seeing. He can't see the Petrova line. How did they even find it? Especially since we find out also that their species doesn't know about relativity. They don't know about radiation, which is what killed Rocky's crew, because they were sending a spacecraft at near the speed of light. They didn't know that there would be an insane buildup of Hawking radiation from doing that. And in the book, and not in the movie, but in the book, they were confused as to why they had extra, Rocky was confused as to why he had extra fuel when he got there that was not in their plan, because they didn't know about relativity and didn't take that into their calculations. That's how he was able to have the extra fuel that he needed to give to Grace to get back to Earth. They kind of skip over that in the movie. But so here you have a species that can only see texture. They live in complete darkness. They don't know about radiation. They don't know about relativity. They don't know about quantum mechanics or greater astrophysics. How did they even spot the Petrova line in the first place? How did they know that their sun was dimming? I mean, this is a visual observation. They wouldn't have been able to notice it until after the process was well into cooling down their planet. So yeah, I have... Yeah, the reduction of heat. And at that point, it might not be a reversible thing, because they were certainly acting like on Earth at that point it wouldn't be reversible, but it would be even worse for Rocky's species, because they require an atmosphere that is so much hotter than Earth's atmosphere, right? Because their atmosphere is like ammonia, and it's over 200 degrees. So by the time that they noticed the cooling on their planet, it would be a far worse situation than what it would be on another planet with a species that could actually see the light reduction first, or notice the Petrova line at all. Because even if they did notice the reduction of heat, how did they spot the astrophage? Yeah. So it's a wonderful movie, but that pops into my head every time. Like, how did this particular species even spot this problem? Because they shouldn't have been able to see it. There's also the idea that that Grace had, that you could have a water that is not that you could have a life form in this universe that is not based on carbon and water. And to someone who's not critically thinking about it, you might think, oh, sure, there might be a non-water-based life form out there. There might be non-carbon-based life somewhere in the universe. But the reason that life here on Earth is carbon-based is because carbon is the most prevalent type of matter in the universe. It's everywhere. It's the most common thing. So yeah, you're gonna build stuff out of the most common thing. If you have piles and piles and piles of wood, you're not going to build the majority of your houses out of concrete because you have all this wood. You're going to build it out of wood. If you have piles and piles and piles of metal, and you can get metal very, very easily, but you have to ship lumber from across the ocean, you're not going to be building your buildings out of wood. You're going to be building them out of metal because that's what you have. That's the situation with the universe, with carbon. Carbon is what we've got, so carbon is what we've built everything out of. There is no part of the universe that we can see that is lacking carbon. So why would a place suddenly build life out of a rare element like silicone when there is all this carbon everywhere? So it stands to the reason that the rules of life that are here on Earth are going to be persistent everywhere in the universe because they're going to be using the same materials and building things in the same way. So we're going to see the same types of life duplicating itself all over the universe. And yeah, there's going to be differences, and like there's a whole range of different creatures that you can make with these things, but life on one planet is not going to be too terribly different from life on another planet, because we're building things universally out of the same materials, and those materials are going to require certain rules for you to build life out of them. So yeah, like an idea of having like non-carbon based life is interesting, but factually it's not that realistic. Like, yeah, an edge case here or there can absolutely happen. I'm sure there's some place in the universe that is severely lacking carbon that is abundant with something else like silicone. And yeah, in that place we may see silicate-based life. But in the majority of places in the universe, you're going to see carbon-based life. And with carbon-based life, it's going to be dependent on hydrogen and oxygen, because those two elements are almost required for all carbon-based life. So yeah, Grace's fundamental thing about having a life form that's not dependent on water kind of falls apart when you look at the universe critically and say, oh, well, it's gonna require water because it's made out of carbon. And like the idea of just because it's water-based that it couldn't survive on the surface of the sun, well, no, not necessarily. Because water doesn't boil because of heat. It boils because of pressure. So if the pressure is enough inside of the organism itself, it's not going to boil the water off, because the heat's not going to be high enough to do that. Even in the sun, with the right amount of pressure, you can make it so that water doesn't boil if it's under enough pressure. I mean, it only boils at 212 degrees here on Earth because of the atmospheric pressure on Earth. And like one thing that people have said, like if you're exposed to space, that your blood will boil. It will, but not because of heat, because of the lack of pressure. That's why when you're in space, you've only got like 15 seconds outside of your suit before you die, because the liquids in your body will start to boil from lack of pressure. It's not the lack of oxygen, it's the lack of the atmospheric pressure that will kill you in space faster than anything else. People also think space is really cold. It's not. I mean, yeah, it's got cold areas, but it's got super, super hot areas as well. I mean, if you could survive the vacuum, just floating through our solar system, you're about equally likely to like freeze to death as you are to melt in a radiation zone. Anyway, my space rant about people not understanding. And like a credit to Andy Weir, like he gets this more right than most people do. And even like looking, like I've seen actual scientists get this wrong about like non-carbon based life and stuff like that. I've seen actual scientists get that science wrong. So like it's not like really a criticism. It's just like a little asterisk. Like this could have probably been researched a little bit deeper, but it was researched deep enough to be good for the story. And that's the balance point that you have to hit as a writer. You don't necessarily research something all the way down to absolutely getting it right. You just need to get it right enough that the majority of people don't question it. Yeah, the Martian is a lot heavier on the science than Hail Mary is, but Hail Mary is a lot heavier on the story, and I think it shows. Because The Martian is good, and because The Martian is one of the reasons The Martian is good is because it's so accurate on the science, with one asterisk that I have about The Martian. But the reason I think Hail Mary is better is because it's a better story. Like, you get to understand Grace and being alone. And then just when you understand him being alone, they introduce Rocky. And then you get to understand Rocky and that Rocky was alone. And now they're not alone because they're together. And that appeals to everyone. And you start falling in love with their relationship. And then Grace... Rocky finds out that Grace isn't going home, and then there's that whole thing where Rocky's like, I couldn't fix my crew dying, but I can fix you dying, which is a huge scene. And then they're trying to collect the stuff, and Grace gets injured, and Rocky like decides to break out of his little encapsulation thing to save not only the ship but Grace at the cost of himself. And like, then you think that Rocky's gonna die, and like you're handling it about as well as Grace does. Like, yeah. And then like they fix everything, and you're on this happy moment, and then they go their separate ways, and then another thing happens, and Grace is like, this is going to kill Rocky. Like, I can circumvent this. I can get around it. Rocky will not be able to solve this problem. And so, yeah, then he's faced with the choice that he was faced with at the beginning. Like, I can go home, or I can go save my friend. Yeah. Just all of those none of those emotional beats were in The Martian. There were a couple here and there, but mostly The Martian was just about surviving on Mars. And like there's an emotional beat like right at the start. There's a couple of emotional beats right at the end of The Martian, but it is all throughout Project Hail Mary, and they do it, and they've done a really good job of getting you attached to both Grace and Rocky throughout the entire movie, so that when these ups and downs happen, you really feel it. You don't get that kind of connection if you're not focusing on the story. And a lot of people have pointed out little things like I did, like the science is a little bit off here, it's a little bit off there, but the science is off in those locations because it doesn't need to be exact in order to tell the story. You can sort of hand wave some of this stuff away by presenting it close enough to the real thing. And Project Hail Mary does that. I will say that the science of the Martian is pretty good, except for one very key thing that is a driving point in the film that would not be a driving point in real life. No storm on Mars is going to be strong enough to tip over that spacecraft or destroy that habitat. The storm that you see there, yeah, that's a big storm. It's blowing, it's gonna tip the rocket over. Like, yeah. Actual storms on Mars are a light breeze. Mars doesn't have an atmosphere. It can't cook a storm that powerful. So the event that actually forces them to leave and strands Watney on Mars is not an event that would actually happen on Mars. Everything else they nail, but that one inciting incident, Mars without an atmosphere is not capable of creating a storm strong enough to do that. But that being said, most people won't know that. Right? It seems perfectly logical to most people. We have storms on Earth, so we would have storms on Mars. And people don't know what makes these storms possible. The average person doesn't know what makes these storms possible, so it seems plausible that you could have a storm this bad on Mars. The people that know the science understand, no, it wouldn't really be that bad. You'd go outside, there'd be dust blowing around. It's like a light sandstorm in the desert. Like a really light sandstorm. Like, you would still have visibility everywhere. Like, yeah. It's not hurricane force winds blowing stuff around. Like, tearing, like, pieces of the base off and stuff. That is my only complaint with The Martian, is the inciting incident is not an incident that actually would have happened on Mars. And you don't have to take my word for it. Neil deGrasse Tyson has talked about this with the author of The Martian, that Mars would not be able to generate a storm capable of doing what it did in the story. In fact, Neil deGrasse Tyson has interviewed Andy Weir twice. Neil deGrasse Tyson has a podcast, by the way. If you're a fan of science and you're not subscribed to his YouTube channel, I absolutely recommend that you look him up and watch his podcast, because it's good. And he's interviewed Andy Weir twice. Once about The Martian and once about Project Hail Mary. And Andy Weir brought up something that I didn't notice until he brought it up. That the ship is called the Hail Mary, and the only person that's inside the Hail Mary is Grace. Hail Mary, full of grace. He did that on purpose. I'm not Catholic, so of course I didn't recognize that he made a Hail Mary pun. But he did, and he did it on purpose. Anywho, both The Martian, and Project Hail Mary. Fantastic movies. Highly recommend you're going to see them. I haven't seen The Odyssey yet, so far movies released this year, Project Hail Mary is up there. There are other movies that I'm looking forward to that after I see them, I will tell you if they dethrone Project Hail Mary, in my opinion. So far, the Mario Galaxy movie has not. Mortal Kombat 2 has not. And the Michael Jackson movie, Michael, has not. And I've seen all 3 of those movies this year. And Project Hail Mary is still at the top of all of those. The other movies that I am looking for is The Odyssey, which came out yesterday, I think. I haven't seen it yet. Spider-Man A New Day, which comes out at the end of the month. I'm a huge fan of Spider-Man, and so I have high hopes for Spider-Man. And the new Avengers Doomsday movie, which comes out in December. Oh, also Masters of the Universe. I've seen that this year, and still Project Hail Mary is on top. I've heard nothing but good things about The Odyssey from the people who've actually seen it, and not the armchair assholes who think that they can dictate what's good and bad on things that they haven't seen. From people who've actually seen the movie, nothing but good things. The numbers speak for themselves too. Like, yeah, you have loud assholes on the internet saying everybody hates this thing, and then it sells what was it, like $600 million in on its opening like day, and something crazy like that. Like, yeah, everybody hates it, but everybody went to see the thing. Like, I think you might be a little off in your estimate there. And like, I've seen that recently also with Maximilian Dood. This past week, while Max was on vacation, I might add, a lot of people have been going in on him for saying that the controversy about the Final Fantasy remake series being disliked is fake, which is something that he said. And it is true that he's a huge proponent of the Final Fantasy series, specifically Final Fantasy VII. But he's not wrong. Like, you can't say that the majority of the fan base, that 90% of the fan base hates this game, when, like, this is the remake series, both Remake and Rebirth, were the only 2 Square Enix games, not just Final Fantasy, but all of Square Enix. These are the only 2 games that have ever been mentioned as Game of the Year in the last 20 years. Now, no matter what you think about Game of the Year this year, for 20 years, Square Enix has not had a contender for Game of the Year. That is going all the way back to the original Final Fantasy VII. Yeah, and now both of these games, back to back, are Game of the Year contenders. That's not an accident. The fact that they're both million sellers already is not an accident. Like, yeah, nothing. When you compare the games to things like Grand Theft Auto, yeah, they're severely lacking compared to a lot of these other super AAA games. But all of Square Enix's library is lacking compared to something like Grand Theft Auto or Call of Duty. Like, it's not just Final Fantasy that's slacking there. Dragon Quest and all of their other stuff is slacking there too. But comparatively within Square Enix, these 2 games are home run successes. And they wouldn't be if 90% of their audience hated them, as people are trying to claim that they do. Yeah. My point in getting into that tangent was that people are claiming that with the Odyssey, they're somehow now deciding that what's the name of the guy that directed the Odyssey? The same dude that directed the Dark, Chris Nolan. They're somehow now deciding that Chris Nolan is woke. that whole idea, just that's cackle worthy right there. That's what that is. Like this guy is who you're saying is woke now. Like, do we need to revisit the argument that was dropped on every single one of the Batman Begins movies about how sexist he was? And now he's woke. Why? Because he cast one of the actresses as black, and you didn't think that they should have been? Like, have you seen any of the other versions of the Odyssey? Any of them? Like, yeah, it's just a loud minority, and that is always the case when it comes to these type of like haters and stuff. They are not the majority, they are a minority. They're just louder than a lot of the rest of them. I'm looking forward to seeing the Odyssey. I think it's going to be a fun time. I'm hoping that they haven't excluded anything from it. Why are you on the fence? What has you on the fence about the Odyssey? My question would be the runtime. $2 and 52 minutes. So that is my thing of it. Like, I don't know. I mean, yeah, I guess you could tell the story in just about 3 hours, because the 1997 miniseries with Armin Asante is about 3 hours long. It's about it was divided into 2 hour-and-a-half parts. So it's about 3 hours. So yeah, I guess you could do a good run of the Odyssey in 2 hours and 52 minutes. But I would wonder about things being cut. I like the idea that there are so many like A-listers in this movie. I'm not gonna look up too much because I don't want to be spoiled. That being said, like, I know the story of the Odyssey. It would be really cool if they tied it into like Troy, but I don't think that they would be able to do that. Just because it's been so long. But yeah, for anyone who might be watching the VODs and doesn't understand what the Odyssey is, it takes place right after a story called the Iliad. And if you're interested in the main crux point of the Iliad, it's about something called the Battle of Troy, which was brought out in a great Brad Pitt movie a while ago. Greece is trying to conquer Troy because of Helen of Troy wanting to marry one of the Greeks, and of course it wasn't allowed, and so they had this fight, and then Hector comes out to protect his little brother who has kidnapped Helen, who is from Greece, and he ends up fighting Achilles' nephew, and Achilles' nephew is wearing Achilles' like armor, and he kills Achilles' nephew, and that pisses off Achilles, and Achilles goes up there and kills Hector, and then drags him back to the beach, and then the king goes down and convinces Achilles to give Hector back, and they make an agreement that there's not going to be a war for 7 days while the death games are going on. Like there's a 7-day festival when somebody dies, especially royalty. And so for those 7 days, there's not going to be a war. They put on pause for that. And during those 7 days, the Greeks build this giant horse and park it outside of Troy, where the Trojan horse came from, right? And the reason that it's a horse is because the horse is the symbol of Poseidon, who is the god of the sea, and it's one of the patron gods of Troy. So the Greeks looked like they left, but they took a bunch of their broken ships and they built this giant horse statue on wheels and parked it outside the gate, thinking that they're not going to burn an effigy of Poseidon. That will piss off Poseidon, and he's one of their patron gods. So the Trojans wheel this gigantic horse into the city, not knowing that it's filled with Roman soldiers. And so that night, when all the city's defenses are down, all the Romans sneak out of the horse and they just slaughter everybody in the city and they take it over. Trojan horse. The Odyssey happens right after the Battle of Troy, when the Greeks are on their way home. One of the captains of Greece was Odysseus, who insulted Poseidon before he left the Battle of Troy. And so what was supposed to be like a 6-month trip back home turned into a 10-year distraction of him not being able to navigate his way around the Mediterranean Sea because Poseidon kept screwing him up. And so it took him a 3-hour tour. Yeah, it took Gilligan's Island around the Mediterranean Sea for 10 years instead of just going straight home, because apparently Poseidon made them all forget how compasses work. But yeah, that's what the Odyssey is about. It's about Odysseus pissing off Poseidon, and Poseidon's like, oh yeah? Well, I'm gonna make you get lost for 10 years. Yeah, so he goes on this great Odyssey around just trying to get home to his wife. And meanwhile, people are trying to take over his kingdom at home because women are not allowed to rule, and she was only sitting on the throne while Odysseus was at war. And now that it seems like Odysseus has died on his way back, people wanting to take over her kingdom. And so she sets this challenge with Odysseus's bow, that if anybody can, that somebody had, in order to be able to take Odysseus' throne, you need to be able to do what Odysseus did. So she sets a challenge of 10 axes set up on the floor with rings in their handles, and you have to string Odysseus' bow and then fire an arrow with a clean shot through all 10 of the axes without it breaking or deflecting. You had to do both of those things to qualify, and nobody could even string the bow because apparently nobody there knew how to string a recurve bow. So yeah, they couldn't even string the bow. So yeah, there's a lot to the Odyssey. They go a bunch of places, they do a bunch of things. The ideas of mermaids and sirens, those are from the Odyssey. If you've ever heard the story of Nobody and the Cyclops, that's from the Odyssey. That's a really interesting story too, because there's a giant Cyclops that captured a bunch of his men and was going to eat them. And Odysseus sneaks into the Cyclops' house to save his men. I will point to that in a moment. About both stringing the bow and people not knowing about those. I've got things to say on both of those topics. But yeah, Odysseus sneaks in there and he starts talking to the Cyclops. And the Cyclops can't see him, but he knows he's there, and he suspects he's one of the little people that he missed that's sneaking around his house. And when the Cyclops asked his name, Odysseus said his name was Nobody. And so the Cyclops is having, over the course of a couple of days, having this conversation with this Nobody who's sneaking around his house. And then Odysseus stabs him in the eye and blinds him. And this allows him to get his men out. But the Cyclops is in a rage, stomping around, screaming because now he's blind and he's been stabbed in the eye. And the other Cyclops from the other caves come and they ask him what's going on. And he said, he's blind now. Nobody has blinded me. And the other Cyclops take that to mean that, okay, if nobody blinded you and you're blind, then you pissed off a god who blinded you. Yeah, and they just back out of that situation. Like, well, we're not gonna piss off whatever god you pissed off that decided that you needed to be blind. So we're just gonna leave you alone. And Odysseus and his men escaped. Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna talk. This guy is a great YouTuber who talks about bows and stuff. We're gonna talk about recurve bows and recurve bows being strung incorrectly. And here's the thing. You see how this bow is right there with it curved back that way? That is the incorrect way to string a recurve bow. But this has been so prevalent that even games which feature bows get it wrong. Here is an example of Diablo 4 with a bow in the game that is incorrect. That is a recurve bow. And that is not how you string a recurve bow. And the fact that they get it wrong is amazing. You can see so many games have bows that are like this, that are just wrong. And if we go back to the other picture, I saw one here that was explaining how recurve bows actually work. Here we go. Yeah, the incorrect way and the correct way, right? So what you have to do to string a recurve bow is to bend this point back this direction, and then bend that point back that direction, like it is right here, and then string from that point to that point. That puts the appropriate amount of tension on this bow in order to fire it. Odysseus's bow was a heavily recurved bow, which means that when it was unstrung, it looked like a big C, with the points pointing back in the opposite direction. And in order to string this bow correctly, you had to bend both of those points forward where they were pointing up and down, and then string the bow from the tip of the point to the tip of the point. And the proper way to here's a bow strung incorrectly in the Avengers movie. The proper way of stringing one of this bow is strung incorrectly, by the way. This needs to be bent the other direction. There is a technique for stringing a recurve bow, and it is only a technique that someone who frequently uses these kind of bows here's another mistake: a recurve bow strung incorrectly. Only someone who actively uses these kind of bows and archeries would know how to string one of these bows properly. So I want the volume down so that copyright doesn't specifically happen. In the this the one? Nope, that is not the. This is the one that I was looking for. So yeah, this was like the 1997 Odyssey movie, where Odysseus comes back just as an old man, and the way that he strings the bow right here by wrapping it around. They didn't show it. Dagnabbit. Okay. This looks like it's the whole thing. So the way that he strings it here is how you actually string one of these things. That is, you prop it on the ground. Yep, Lansley's okay. Would he not be okay? Yeah, you see what he's doing here? He propped the edge of the bow over here across his foot. Then he ran the bow underneath his leg, and he's bending the top part around his leg, using his body as leverage to bend the bow back so that he can get the string on the top. And as you can see, it's still taking a great amount of strength in order to even get the string onto the bow. But yeah, that's how you properly string one of those bows. I'm sure he's fine. Lansley, he doesn't. The more you bow. He doesn't come around sometimes because he's helping his mom or he has other things to do. Yeah. But he was tweeting stuff on Twitter. He tweets artwork and stuff at me on Twitter. So yeah, he's probably just busy. But yeah, there's a lot that goes into the Odyssey, and my only concern would be that some of the key points of the story would be skipped if the runtime was lower. But it's got a 3-hour runtime, so, and everybody that I know that has seen it and reviews have said that it's a fantastic movie, and the numbers just kind of speak for themselves too. So I'm thinking that they got the story right this time. And with the number of big name actors that they've got in this thing, like, the acting should be pretty phenomenal. Hydrate! Get the music up a little bit. Do that. There we go. So yeah, there may be a collaboration stream also tomorrow night at 9 o'clock for Mega Chameleon and Ben with her birthday stream. I am going to be doing a .hack outbreak earlier in the day, and then we're going to come back to Bear and Breakfast again on Thursday, and then the Power World collaboration on Friday. Now this weekend we have Final Fantasy Fan Festival returning, and I know I said that I was only going to cover the initial one, but I think I can cover this. It's gonna start at about 4 o'clock, and it's gonna go on through midnight or so. So, and they're gonna be revealing more things about the upcoming Final Fantasy XIV expansion. So, and there's probably going to be some pretty big drops and stuff for Final Fantasy XIV with this being this weekend. So I'm thinking I'll probably have a special Saturday stream where I cover the Final Fantasy Fan Festival. Yeah. Yeah. I'm not going to cover the piano concert. And I may end it after the development panel here, depending on what happens with the community panel and stuff like that. Yeah. So that may happen this weekend, and then next weekend we can ignore this because I haven't got this set up yet. We're going to be finishing up .hack. This we've only got in-game stuff to do in Outbreak, and then we'll be in Quarantine. And Quarantine is a lot shorter of a game than Outbreak was, because it's wrapping up the story, and there's just not a whole lot that happens in Quarantine, as opposed to Outbreak, which has like 10 times the content that Quarantine has for some reason. They put everything in Outbreak, and then Quarantine is like, oh yeah, and by the way, here's the end of the game. And that's basically it. But Outbreak has tons and tons and tons of stuff. Outbreak almost has the same amount of in-game content that Quarantine has content. So yeah, that they stacked everything in Outbreak. Like Outbreak has 1, 2, 3, 4. Outbreak has 8 in-game zones, and Quarantine has 2. There are eight in-game things to do. No, there are 10 that you do in Outbreak. There are 10 in-game things that you do in Outbreak, and there are 3 total that you do in Quarantine, adding the goblins in there. So yeah, I don't know why there's so much more stuff to do in Outbreak, but we're gonna try to get through the majority of the Outbreak stuff tomorrow, and then next week start and finish Quarantine throughout that week. And there will probably be a special stream here for Final Fantasy Fan Fest. It runs Saturday and Sunday, but there's not a whole lot going on Sunday. So this is a concert with the Primals. This is cosplay, not terribly interested in that. This is PvP, not terribly interested in that. Naoki's room, I am kind of interested, because Naoki Yoshida is Yoshi P, the developer of the game. And so whatever he's doing in here for an hour and 15 minutes seems kind of like a fun thing. But it also seems like something that I could just cover on Monday when I come back. So yeah. So I think I'll probably only cover Saturday there. Yeah. There we go. Different music. Well. I think that's about it. I'm still not feeling that great, so I was not planning to do a terribly long stream today. Just come on here and explain what's going on, chit chat for like an hour or 2, and then probably just go rest for the rest of the day. Yeah. Bum 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 bum. Just jamming out to some Zelda music. Bum bum bum. But yeah, so I think that's gonna be it for today's stream. Frankly, I'm looking forward to going and just relaxing for the rest of the day. No work, no thinky, just sleepy. Yeah. The spinning toddler, yes. I have in fact seen that before. Let's see if there's somebody that we can raid, because raiding's always fun. Bum bum bum. I don't think we have any smaller channels. Bum bum bum. Well, Twitch is twitching. That's fine. That's fine. We can skip the raid today. Twitch. I clicked on a couple people and Twitch was like, "No, you can't do that. No, you can't do that. No, you can't do that." Like, Twitch. Anyhow, that's gonna be it for me for today. I'm gonna go and I'm going to take some pain meds and lie down or sit up, depending on whether or not I can lie down, because I can't always lie down because sometimes my head just hurts when it hits the pillow. Unfortunate side effects of sickness. Anywho, well, thank you guys for watching. Come and listen to me rant and chit chat with the peoples in the audience, mainly Lojo, who has been here in the audience. Yes. And I will be back tomorrow, most likely, for .hack Outbreak. Yeah. Hopefully tomorrow will be going better than today. Or at least Greetings, Rin. Welcome. I was just talking about tomorrow. You caught me right at the end of the stream. I posted in your channel. How did it go? Yes, I'm going to be adding the how did stream go? Stream went okay. I'm not feeling all that great today, left over from yesterday, so I was actually just about to sign off. I didn't play a game today. I'm gonna play a game, put the game on tomorrow, and then I'm going to do the. In fact, I can do that right now. I need to click on things. Bam. This is how easy it is for me to make a thing. So I'm gonna put channel special. I need to add a description. That is this. I need to turn this orange. I forgot to set a time. It is not all day. Bam. And now when I refresh, wha-bam! Channel special, Mecha Chameleon. 9:30. Woot woot. Yep, we're on the calendar. My calendar is interactive. It pulls from this Google Calendar, and yeah, I make a new event on the calendar, and it automatically pops up here. If I need to delete an event, I just go back to the Google Calendar and I delete that particular event, and it turns into one of these off days. I like the idea of having the like VTuber calendar, but I didn't want to have to actually go and make an image every time I needed to make a calendar. So I figured, you know what, I'll just schedule things on the Google Calendar and I'll let it automatically pull the thumbnails that I'm using on YouTube, and like you can highlight over the different things. And you can see this little Twitch icon, like when I'm live, it has it highlighted in red and it says live over here. And if you click on this, it takes you to the Twitch page where you can see me live. If you're on a previous week, you have these little YouTube things on here. And if you click on those, it takes you to the YouTube VOD for that stream. So yeah, not only is it the calendar, you can back up and see everything that I've done all throughout the year and go to the exact VOD on my YouTube channel to watch. And when I'm not lazy, which this kind of is, you can actually go forward and see things that I have planned. But I have been slacking on keeping my calendar up to date outside of the current week. I need people to work for me without getting paid, because I have no money. But anyway, yeah, my calendar. Yeah, it's all fancy, and it's based off of YouTube Calendar, and it's stored in GitHub. Because it doesn't actually have any like server components. It does everything like on screen in JavaScript. Yes. I like having fancy things that require the least amount of work. That's always been my design philosophy when it comes to programming. How can I do the cool thing with the least amount of work possible? And I'm gonna find the simplest way to do it, and then find the easiest way to do the simplest work. Yeah. No worries at all. But yeah, you're on the calendar. Yay. Yeah, minimum effort, maximum results. Yes, I want the cool thing. I'm gonna find out the easiest and the quickest way to do the cool thing that requires the least amount of effort. And that's what I'm gonna do. Yep, that is what all programmers do. People think the programmers are like slaving on the computer, typing constantly. No. Programmers spend 4 hours Googling something and watching YouTube videos, and then 20 minutes copying the code of somebody else who's already built the thing that they want to build. And then the last little segment is just getting the code to work with the rest of the code that they have. Minimum. If you are coding something right, there shouldn't be maintenance on it unless something fundamental changes with the system. Like, since I built this, I haven't had to do any maintenance, and I'm not going to need to until I add background art and put this in the bigger website. But this calendar is completely interactive. If you guys want to go to the calendar and take a look at it, bam, there is the link. And yeah. It should work the same on mobile that it does on desktop in theory. But I haven't extensively tested it. Anywho. Yeah. I am going to sign off now because I am still not feeling all that great. So I think I'm gonna take some pain meds. I'm gonna rest for the rest of the day, and we'll be back tomorrow with .hack Outbreak in the afternoon, and then Mecha Chameleon in the evening time. Yeah. I think Twitch is still gonna be twitching if I'm trying to raid somebody. Because it's still twitching. Twitch does not like me today. Say hi to Nari Mom. I will say hi to Nari Mom. So, no raid because I can't get the Twitch buttons to work right. Which happens every once in a while. But, yeah. I want to thank you guys for watching and coming around and hearing me just chat at you guys. for like 2 hours. Yeah. And we'll be back tomorrow with more Outbreak and some Mecha Chameleon in the evening times. And I will keep everybody apprised if anything changes. So yeah, well, thank you guys for watching, and I will catch y'all on the flip side. Nari out.